So what made you make that kind of shift to be much more strategic on that side of things?
Well, I've been working the last 12 months with Sarah Poynton Ryan from Cogito Wealth, and she has various speakers come in as well as part of that community. But one of the speakers was Joe Taylor from eGrowth Media, and he was talking very much about social media and whether people love it or hate it. You know, it's there now, it's in the world, isn't it? And how you can elevate yourself to a much wider audience. And I just think it's really important to showcase what you're doing to build that personal brand. And that's partly for credibility. It's not even about asking people for things. It's just consistent evidence of what you're doing. And there's often people watching in the background, or they might feel they get to know you, but they're just learning what you're doing or seeing what you're doing and taking an interest in what you're doing. And I think it's just about building that credibility and building, you know, that people can see what you're doing, and just elevating your business, I suppose. So I've really worked hard on that probably the last 3 or 4 months with networking and social media. I do have someone doing my social media. It's not me doing it. As I say, eGrowth are doing it for me. But again, that's going back to giving that work to someone who's knowledgeable and experienced, and they know what they're doing, as opposed to me spending hours trying to do something when I don't know what I'm doing. So
totally. That's a bit like both of us trying to sign in at various times, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Oh, how do we do that? That's not my remit.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think, and this is why I love having these kind of interviews of people who, you know, are sort of still relatively at the beginning of their property journey, because we spoke about this before. Some of the, you know, the big people that lead these, you know, these big property education companies, I mean, they're amazing and they're really inspirational. And I think that's great. But sometimes they're just too far ahead.
Yeah.
And you want somebody who literally, you know, you could sort of almost feel they're just a number of steps away. And those are the ones that can give you equally incredible inspiration. And I always say to people, and I know I would have said it to you as well, not telling people what you're doing, you know, can be selfish actually, because you know, if you can inspire just one person by what you're doing, you know, why wouldn't you share it? Why wouldn't you let other people know? And I think it's a shame sometimes, because we kind of, you know, it's almost like, you know, the tall poppy syndrome, where that people try and knock you down and we feel like we can't tell people what we want to do. But I think actually when you see it, it makes such a big difference. And I've been seeing you grow and grow and grow. And of course, it's brought you front of mind. And it's kind of like, I really love that. I genuinely like it when people, you know, think, and it is scary. I remember when I started doing my first kind of videos and just thinking, oh my gosh. And my kids would say, Mum, you said 1,000 times in that 1 minute, you know, and all of those things. But I think what you're doing is great, because it will help people. And actually, when you start looking, when you put yourself out there a little bit more, the number of people that you do touch the lives of really grows. And that's something very, very special. And it's such a shame when people are too shy or worried, not doing it. So yeah, how's it helped you having, you know, so was it Joe Taylor helping you with eGrowth? Are they really kind of guiding you?
Oh, they're fantastic. I mean, and they sort of, I mean, we have a meeting every week, and they, you know, we decide what the content's going to be, and I know what I have to do and upload and all the rest of it as well. And so, yes, it's a real partnership, and that's really helped in sort of, I suppose, getting my name out there. But, you know, just touching back on something you just said now is if I want sort of the younger generation to believe they can. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I can't do that, I haven't got any money, and they really can. I'm not saying you can do, I don't think it's as easy as sometimes said, you can do everything with no money. I don't mean it like that. But what I mean is they can do it. And I think the education system nowadays, certainly when I was at school, no one ever talked about being entrepreneurial. No one ever talked about having your own business. And I come from a family where everyone's always been employed. Nobody had ever had their own business or started their own business. And why can't people, why can't anybody? It's just having that knowledge and belief that yes, you can. There are other choices out there. It's not just about sitting exams, and there's nothing wrong with that, going down a route where you're employed. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But about having the options and the choice and the belief and the drive that everybody with the right education and support can strive for a different type of life. I do genuinely believe that. And that's one of the things I'm really quite passionate about with our own children, really, and grandchildren, is, you know, them seeing that, you know, even at my age, I'm sort of doing something new and striving for something different, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can go off all at any age, all of those kind of things. And like, so even just in my family, you know, my youngest daughter, this last week we'd realized that we're probably being a bit generous with her, because she was so long awaited. She is a little bit spoiled, obviously the youngest as well, and she was talking about pocket money. And it was kind of like, well, you know, your brothers, they both started businesses at 5 years old. Yeah. Because I was so sick and tired of going into the supermarket and being pestered to buy loads of plastic rubbish, you know, and it just got quite overwhelming and I didn't really know what to say to them. And so they started their businesses. They did really well. She's now started, you know, we just looked up what a kid could do, and she's now started doing finger knitting, and she started, you know, seeing if, you know, guess what? We're all her first clients. But it's starting, exactly, it's starting to think through it. And then really interesting, I was chatting to another chap who runs an incredible foundation, in fact, Caldecott Foundation. It's for kids who haven't had perhaps the best start in life, and they have special schools and homes and things. And he was saying that one of his kids just said right from an early age, I'm just never going to go in and have a normal job. I just am going to work from a beach somewhere. And guess what he's doing?
Yeah, good for him.
Working from a beach somewhere. And that is what I love, is knowing that, you know, you've got to go out there and find something that you want to do. You don't have to go into that doldrum of just work. You know, there are ways of working and doing something really creative that you'll love.
Yeah, and just having the belief in that. And that's where I think the education system, it just doesn't give that drive. I don't believe so anyway. I think it doesn't tell people there are choices, and there are choices. And, you know, we all want to give our children more than we have. All of us do that. But what we have to be careful is not doing that too much, so that they don't have that drive themselves to aspire to a better life, to aspire to a different life, and have the choice. And if they want to work for someone else, and that's absolutely fine as well. It's not wrong. It's just about knowing they have choices. That's what I think is important. It's about choices, isn't it?
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I found with my older children, I've got two 18-year-olds, is that, you know, when you're 17, 18, and especially post the bloody COVID nightmare, you know, going down the pub seemed really exciting. And we can all remember that, can't we? We drive and we go to the local pub and we're having an amazing time. And I just kept saying to them, you know, there's a lot more out there. There's a lot more fun that you can have. There's a lot of amazing things. And one of my boys has just been off for 2.5 months and been to, I think, 5 countries, earned lots of money along the way, completely opened their eyes to new experiences. And that's what I really want, is for people to understand that there's more.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, you know, when we're in our little world, and some people love being in their little world, and that's also perfectly fine. But if you know that there's more out there and you want to see it, I think everyone should know, exactly as you said, that you can, if you want to, go and get it. Don't feel like you have to sort of hold back. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, I'm aware of time and I've got a few more questions I really want to touch on. You decided, so there's lots of networking events. So this is kind of like following on from you raising your profile. You know, you've taken on somebody to help you with your social media, which is a really great thing to do, I personally believe. And then I hear, and I saw you kind of advertising, doing a networking event. But what I found really interesting is it wasn't just any old networking event. It was really quite different. Would you mind sort of telling us how you decided, why you decided to do it, how you came about, and why it was quite a little bit different.
Well, the credit for this does have to go to Sarah from Cogito Wealth, who's doing my mentoring. But she suggested I did a mentoring event around estate agents. She said there's nothing really around for estate agents to network. She said they're a little bit nervous of probably mixing with each other, because obviously it's a very competitive market and they're all, you know, fishing in the same pool. But she suggested I did that on the basis that what we need to try and do is try and find a way that there are difficult properties to sell. There are agents who are trying to sell them, and then there are people like me who are trying to buy them. And there's other creative ways we can all get to a resolution with all parties involved. So she suggested that I did some sort of networking event on that basis. And then, so I did sort of with the local agents again. As we suspected, there was some nervousness about, well, what was I getting out of it for a start? What would they get out of it? So the idea was, I had a speaker come in who was Sarah herself, and she was talking about creative ways you can get a sale on a property, and the agents could come to the event. They weren't going to be sharing trade secrets. They were, you know, they could all take something from it and go home with that sort of different way of thinking. I did have some trades go along as well, electrician, plumbers and things as well. So serviced accommodation agents and investors. So the idea was to get a mix of people within a room and just talking to each other really, and about different ways you can get more complicated properties sold. So let's say, for example, a property where it's unmortgageable. You know, you're automatically cutting out a huge chunk of people unless there's cash buyers there. But you've got someone who desperately needs to sell. Maybe they've got debt they need to pay off. The agent wants to make a sale for them, and then you've got investors there as well. So it could be different types of sort of sales. It could be purchase lease option, which, if you've got any of the people listening now don't know what that is, essentially is taking control of the property without buying it, doing work on it and buying it in the future. Assisted sale, which is essentially taking control of a property, doing the work, ready for sale, selling it, and then you take your portion back and the owner still takes it. You know, all of these different types of ideas, but making sure the agent knew that certainly I wouldn't be trying to cut the agent out. I think some of them were nervous that as an investor, you'd be trying to cut them out and go straight to the person trying to sell. And I was trying to say, no, I don't want to cut you out. I want to work with you. So we everyone in that scenario is benefiting. We're all benefiting and getting the end result that we all want. And that was really well received, actually. Yeah, I had agents come along, had investors come along, and it was a really, really good feedback. So I'll do another one of those as well, and try and build up the idea that it's about all of us in the industry finding a way to help each other get an end solution to a problem, I suppose.
I think it's really powerful. I mean, that's one of the things I find frustrating, and whereas I just kind of like get annoyed about it, you've actually gone out there and done something about it. But for me, the industry of estate agency is incredibly lazy. I think they're not keeping up with the times. As you've mentioned, there are so many other ways, and actually for a person bringing their property, whatever it is, to an estate agent, a straightforward sale is not necessarily the best thing for them, especially like portfolio landlords. You've mentioned unmortgageable properties, various other things. And I think it frustrates me that, you know, they have this kind of, half of them don't even know. They have no idea that these are even about there, and it's their industry. Do you know what I mean? You should know about property and all of those things. And what I found with the agent that I did my purchase lease option through, he's since then, he'd never done one before. He had heard of it just because somebody had suggested it on a different property, but they never really explained it particularly well. So he was a bit like, oh, I don't really want to do that. But he actually really helped and supported us with our purchase lease option. And he's done 3 more since then. So that's completely changed, and he loves it, because clearly the main advantage to agents is that they get paid really quickly.
Exactly.
They don't have to wait 6 months, 9 months sometimes to get paid. They generally get paid really quickly. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think that is a really forward-thinking. Yeah, I mean, have you found it was more kind of a whole industry, it was kind of for you helping them, or have they do they really turn to you now as a bit more of an expert? Are you seen differently, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's some of the agents that came, that's built up a really good relationship with them anyway. So they'll phone me and say, oh, I've got this property coming up, do you want to come and look? They're not giving me preferential treatment, they're just know that I will be more, think about it in a creative way, and building up the trust, because they needed reassurance. And some of them had been, they'd had bad experiences, as there is in any industry, or people or investors have perhaps found a property and then bypassed them and cut them out. And, if they've had a bad experience, I understand that. But we've built up a relationship, so they know that isn't my intention. It's not about cutting them out. In a way, I need them. They're going to be coming across these properties probably more easily than I am with all of I'll do my own research, but they're the ones that are getting these properties coming to them. And I want them to know more about it so they can, in their own way, explain to someone who's come to them with their property, we could look at this, or we could look at this, or, I know somebody who would look at it in a different way and perhaps solve your problem really quickly for you. You need to sell it or do something with it in 4 to 6 weeks. I know a way we could do it like that. So that's really been good. It's built up really good relationships in that way. So yes, same with the open day I did. I invited agents to come to that. I invited the agent who actually sold the property that we bought, and he said, I love this, because normally I don't see that property again. I sell it in the condition that it's in, and then that's it. So he's come and seen the progress. And obviously, I know he'd like to have that property at the end to onward sell. But if that creates a little bit of competition with them all wanted, that's all the way it is, isn't it, as well? That's business.
Exactly. I love that. Well, look, we're drawing to a close. Before we let everyone know where they can find you, I'm massive on mindset. I absolutely love it. It's been such a huge change. So as we know, as much as you can have help and support, there are still going to be things that will go wrong. You're still going to have up days and down days. You're going to be kind of, feeling, am I doing the right thing? How do you keep going? What is it that kind of drives you on a daily basis to, be different? Because you're stepping. I know you talk a lot about some of your friends and they're all kind of like winding down, and it's almost like you're winding up.
Yeah, they're doing the traditional route of, and that there's nothing wrong with that. They're doing the traditional route of sort of, moving towards retirement and in a different way. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sorry, what did you ask me again?
I said, what keeps you going? What keeps me going? Helps you with your mindset?
I just think we only have one life, and none of us know how long that is going to be, do we? So I want to have a go. I want to at least think one day, well, I had a go at it, didn't I? And I tried to do that, and I tried to deliver the sort of the dreams, I suppose, that I would have for the future. Because if we don't try, well, we don't try, do we? It's sort of, don't ever have any regrets. It's better to try something and it doesn't work than not ever try it. But then also people like yourselves. I mean, I've met some amazing people along the journey, some fantastic people. And everybody, I think, when you're having perhaps a bit of a down day, we're all there to boost each other, aren't we? And encourage each other and support each other. And, that's great as well, isn't it? It's... you just got to keep going. You just got to keep plodding on and not give up.
You know what? I had an accountability. There's a few of us, and we're sort of all you know, done pretty well in property. And I remember sort of saying something, and she just said, "That's it. You just keep going."
Yeah,
it's so true.
Keep going.
Like one step in front of the other. You just got to keep going. Absolutely. Well, Sue, you are so fantastic. I know we could have gone on for hours. There's still lots of stuff we haven't particularly touched on in more detail, but where can people find you? Whereabouts is your property? Because I think you said you're having another open day, are you?
Yes, so it's in Kettering in Northamptonshire. I haven't set the date for that, but it will probably be in the next 4 weeks. So my Instagram is Sue Wesby Property. And then I've done it more under my business name is Sandacre Property, but I'm pushing more my personal brand really. So LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram are under my name. So Sue Wesby or Sue Wesby Property. So yes, you can find me there. And honestly, if anybody wants to get in touch or they want to come and have a look or just a chat, then please do. You know, people have been so helpful to me on my journey and given me their time and help. Then it's all about giving back, isn't it? I think.
I love it. Well, you are a superstar, and thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your journey. I knew you would be really inspirational, and that's what I love for people. I love people to see, you know, what are the options, because sometimes we don't know what we could do, and it's only by seeing other people's journeys and what they're up to enables us to take that to go forward.
If I can do it, anyone can do it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't know.
No, yeah.
Very modest. Brilliant, guys. Okay, so we're back again next week. So don't forget 12 noon on Monday. And cannot wait. And again, thank you so much. So please do go and find Sue Wesby on all of social media as she is now. And if you are local, or even if you're not local, you might want to go and visit her at her current flip, because I know it's doing really well. Okay, Sue, thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you.